Hello, welcome to my channel. Today I am in day 20 of the New Cycle meditations, and these seem to be getting longer and longer. I seem to be writing for more than an hour on them, and so they are really, if this is a 20-minute video, I will not be surprised at all because this is really long and there's a lot of detail in it. So I guess without further ado, I'm just going to get started and we'll see where this goes. Um, it is day 20. It's March 11th, 2025. I am actually talking to Sunshine today. I thought there would be some levity to it, but there isn't. So there's going to be a bumpy ride ahead, so be prepared. I'll just get started. Here we go. I started by saying, "Hello, Sunshine, my old friend." And Sunshine says, "Hey, who are you calling old?" I said, "Well, clearly not you. These past few days have been pretty intense. I've been writing so much that my fingers have gotten sore." She said, "Relax a hold on the pencil. The words will come to you. Just give yourself some time and let it flow." And I said, "I think you and Nigel and Ramon have given me so much food for thought. I know that all of this stuff couldn't be from me. I never thought about past experiences with the intensity or parallels that I have now." And she said, "This is important to see the alignment of things. Do you know that the purpose of alignment is not so much about accepting things as they are, but preparing yourself of what will be?" People often forget that they can attune themselves to their experiences and find ways in which to contend with things. It is not about simply going through life and having varied experiences, but being able to take the lessons from them. I said, "I seem to be learning at least once a year that a person I thought was my friend wasn't." She said, You stepped away from the notion that you have to say or do certain things in order to please them. Have you noticed that 90% of the friendships you had with people ended because they could not accept the way you are? They seemed they searched for and found reasons to drop you like a hot potato because you had spiritual or political beliefs that did not align to their way of doing things. You even told one of your relatives that you did not want to discuss politics with them because you knew instinctively that that would happen. But what eventually did happen? I said, "Yeah, I ended up walking away. It didn't matter that I didn't want to talk about politics. I just realized that I couldn't take the shallow ideology anymore." She asked, "How did you feel after that?" I said, "I felt badly, of course, but it was also when I was battling cancer. I was going through chemo, and internally, there was a battle raging inside of me, and externally, I just didn't want to cope with any more of people's baggage." And Sunshine said, "You took the experience and decided to take your time and listen to the voice in your heart. It says you should not be contending with other people's dramas, not when you had one of your own going on. The ideas that you had about all of this were that you needed to look out for yourself, make certain that you were okay." And I said, "I'm reminded of two things with this. One of the advice they give on airplanes when they do safety videos: take care of yourself, then assist others. The other was a posting by my cousin yesterday. She has chickens at home and has access to eggs. She said that she was sharing eggs with people. I thought, way to go." Sunshine says, "That is significant. Let's talk first about your cousin's unselfish acts, and then we can talk about the plane." I said, "Okay." She said, "In sharing with those around her, your cousin is showing the need of community. In the context of history, people exchanged things or bartered. They did not have money in that particular context. People learned through history that sharing something with others was a great way to bring the good back into their own lives. In sharing eggs, your cousin is showing not only that she cares for those around her, but that exchange of goods within a community has historically been a sound means of coming through hard times. It also shows that in the context of history, the subject of scarcity is being exposed. It is showing that the U.S. has become a dictatorship. Remember what you studied about history? I said, yes. In Eastern Germany and Russia, people would purchase things that they did not necessarily need as a means to trade said items for things that they did need. And Sunshine said, exactly. The act of doing this is a means of survival. What is the difference between a man buying a set of tires for a car that he did not have and a woman with a dozen eggs that she trades for a bit of fabric to make a dress? Those who claim that they lived in a capitalist society for umpteen dozen years are not living in a capitalist society any longer. They are living in a sort of forced communist economic situation where they endure scarcity and lack and must buy what they can get their hands on in order to survive. The reality is the capitalist society no longer is in existence. The history that you have read about where people are bartering goods and services due to lack are now the new reality. Instead of it being instead of it being based in capitalism, the economic system is developing into a communist system. The crash of the stock market and the status quo economy is on life support. The problem is the notion that people have that capitalism is alive and well is fantasy. What you have is a sort of feudalism, where the rich and powerful are at the top of the pyramid and the peasants are trading eggs and growing food in order to help their neighbors. This is what new reality that people must live with. How many times have you heard people say that they are making no unnecessary purchases because of what is going on? This is the reality. You are looking forward to taking a trip later this year, but you also realize that there are those who cannot even afford to do what you are doing. I said, yes, I know I shouldn't feel guilty about it, but a small part of me does. And Sunshine says, why? I said, I just wish that I could do something to help. And Sunshine says, but you are. You're sharing this, and through it, you are helping people to prepare for what is coming. I said, does that mean that things are really that bleak? And Sunshine says, no, it just means that people need to prepare themselves. Sure, save what they can, do what they can to help their families and one another. You made a decision when you immigrated. You caught a lot of grief from people because you married and left. I said, yes, my family was convinced that I would return to the U.S. after 2 weeks. Now it's been close to 30 years since I moved here. Sunshine says, yes, then perhaps it is now their karma that is coming back for them. You see, the things that you put into the world does come back. You were insulted and talked about when you moved to Germany. You were constantly made to feel like an outsider because you chose this, and God forbid you wanted it. This is not your fault. It is just the way of things. Do you feel guilt because you were able to get the health care you needed when you got cancer? I said, no, but I'm grateful for the fact that I did get it. Sunshine says, there you go. Then you just answered your own question. You are grateful that you live in Germany and are able to survive and thrive there. You know logically that saving money is important, but also being able to live without taking for granted what you have is also important. You can only do so much for the people around you, but you also know that by feeling guilt feeds the dark and negative energies. You are not bragging when you say, I'm getting ready to go on a trip. You are merely stating a fact. To feel for the well-being of others is akin to giving a friend a dozen eggs. The realization that people are facing while trying to navigate a feudal system will be an educational experience. The dependency of community will be demonstrated in a very profound way. The notion of, quote, rugged individualism will be scrapped and tossed into the dustbin of history. This is something that many Europeans have already learned. The sense of community is strong in Europe. There are community choirs, sports clubs, organizations that help and assist one another. In the U.S., the sense of community is not as much a dominant force. Since there is a smattering of clubs, groups, and organizations in the States, But some of the people live in such rural areas that they do not realize that these organizations are in place to help them. That rugged individualism is the driving force in them. And for that reason, many of them consider their political leanings to the far right. Learning that they have this interdependency on community is a harsh lesson for them. They are learning at the onset of all of this that their beliefs helped enable the mess that they are now finding themselves in. The notion that the other is now hitting them in a rather dramatic way. They see people who worked on their farms being kicked out of the country, of countries that had once purchased their goods and services are ceasing to trade with them, and all they have left are blue flags and red hats. The isolation of these people will sadly continue, and it may lead to even more shortages when produce dies and rots in the fields. And I said, that sounds awful. And Sunshine says, yes, but this could have been prevented. Remember when Nigel said that the universe is neither positive nor negative? I said, yes. And Sunshine says, well, this is what he meant. The act of food rotting in the fields is the karma result of the actions these people took. Do you see people being empathetic towards them? I said, no. I see things like FAFO coming into being. People are angry. I can't say I blame them, but it is what is happening. People are now at a loss. And Sunshine says, yes, this is becoming a dramatic situation, and the future says that it may have to get worse for them before it gets better. I said, why? And Sunshine says, Yvette, this may be hard for people to hear, but the reality is that people have not yet learned the lessons of the universe. If the Creator were to swoop down and save them from their choices, they would start singing, oh, praise God, this is good. They will go by the old outdated notion that some external force just saved their bacon. What people must realize is that God is not going to save them from their choices. The Creator, like guides, angels, and others, even spirits, cannot save humanity. Do you know who or what can save humanity? I said humanity itself. And Sunshine says, exactly. Humanity can swoop in and save itself. There is no golden egg that can be cracked open and deliver the people from the consequences of their choices. The moment that people realize that the Creator would not vote for someone who is hell-bent on causing misery or making them suffer will be the day when they begin to recognize that they are responsible for their lot. Just as you making your own choices to move or who to vote for reaps a positive result, their choices have reaped the negative reality that they must live in. Why should you feel guilty for making the choices that you have made? Why should you feel badly for making choices that bring you positive karma? It is like the battery analogy that Nigel spoke of yesterday. Put the positive end of a battery on a positive pole that reaps nothing. The people are not living in a reality that they know the universe as being a battery. They view the universe as being a battery. They think that if they put their battery with a negative against a negative pole, that it will bring something to them. But it brings nothing. The same with regards to the positive end and a positive pole. Still nothing. So why do they do? What they do is they turn the battery around and put the positive end against the negative pole. Voila, a circuit. That is not how the universe works. When you put a negative disposition out there and use that to hurt another, that negative energy comes back to you. The results will hit you. To believe that a negative attitude will not reap a similar karma is not just absurd, it is idiotic. When people do positive things and make positive choices, then the result will be positive. So when Nigel said the universe is not like a battery, he was absolutely right. Where there is only positive, positive will be a result. Where there is only negative, then negative will be the result. Do a good deed, and the good will come back to you. When people give up the isolationist ideology, then they will recognize that the community is not just important, it is imperative for human survival. I said, so we can count on things getting better. And Sunshine says, better in what sense? And I said, better in people recognizing their interdependency on community or having people come to their aid. Sunshine said, before anyone can get any of those things, the red-hatted people need to humble themselves and ask for the assistance. That means they must learn to let go of their pride and seek out the assistance that they need. There must not only be a sense of humility, but also a sense of willingness by the community to forgive. Not forget, but forgive them for their choices. When people decide instead to fight one another, but realize that they are all in a similar place, then healing can begin. I said, it's going to take a while, huh? And Sunshine says, yes, because so many people are caught up in cult-like behavior. What will have to happen is people will have to learn that they themselves are important and that there is no other human being who is more important or more special than they are. They must essentially realize the notion that another human being is not the end-all or be-all of the civilization. When people are able to let go of the notion that they have been worshiping a pair of false prophets, then humanity will ultimately be better off. This will enable people to go into a state of humility. They will realize that the idea of making a mistake is not a bad thing, is just a part of the human experience. The notion that one human being is perfect and incapable of erring has to be released. Otherwise, the country will experience something that will make Jonestown look like a walk in the park. I do not want to be a bringer of gloom and doom, but this is ultimately the lesson that must be learned before humanity can heal itself. The civilization in North America now hangs in the balance. The hope is there. The light workers are there. But a lot more people will have to recognize this before change can occur. And I said, so hope is there. And Sunshine says, oh yes, hope is there. Again, stepping into that meadow, allowing the darkness to fall away. In time, it will happen. The universe will not be ignored. Either people must listen or run the risk of being plowed down by a virtual semi. It will not only be through shedding the darkness that you, as a society, will see the light. I said, wow, this is some pretty serious stuff. And Sunshine says, yes, but it is important for it to be shared, which, going back to the start of this, you are doing. I said, okay, so what about the other thing I mentioned, about the safety thing on the plane? And Sunshine said, we already talked about it. You must protect yourself before you can protect others. That is pretty much established. Just think about this before we close. The light is all around you. All that you must do is embrace it. When others see that, then it will spread far and wide. That is why what you are doing is significant. You may not think that it is making a difference, but people do share things, and ultimately this will ignite and people will share it. Just wait and be patient. And I said, I will. Thank you, Sunshine. And Sunshine said, thank you for talking to me. I have waited years for this moment. I said, I don't know what I was missing, I guess. I love you. And she says, and I love you. And that's the end of the meditation. So that is where we are. almost 19 minutes into the video, and I've read through 14 pages of material here. These conversations are getting very deep. They're getting very filled with a lot of very, very insightful ideas, but they're also, some of them can be a little bit meaty and, a lot of stuff in them, but I think it's very important to share them. And I have hopes that by sharing this, that it will give people hope that they will be able to come through all of these things that are happening. But as I said, there are a lot of things happening, and everything is touching on what's going on in the world. And I think that it is showing that you can't just run away from it. Even in meditation, you can't run away from it. This stuff is so obviously there. The universe is demanding to be heard, and it will be heard. So that is, I think, what's happening. I think that's what the energy is saying, and I think that's where we're going. So I wish you a wonderful day. And I just hit the 20-minute mark on this thing. So this is probably the longest video meditation that I've done so far. And I don't see these getting shorter. I see them actually getting longer. So I wish you a wonderful day. I hope that you will find the hope and the joy and the community that you need. And take care. And as always, namaste.